Hey everybody, good morning and welcome back to the Tuesday edition of Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host and Disembodied Hands, Quindy, Disembodied Beard, John, and occasionally a lazy puppy who is, due to not getting walks, getting chonkier. So I lowered her food today. I told David, he's like, well, just lower her food. I'm like, no, we need to lower her junk food. He's like, I can't stop giving her treats. He might lose his status as the favored human if he stops giving her treats. It's very silly. Luckily, in about a week, a little more than a week, she'll be able to go on walks again and go and have her playtime and everything. But still, frisbees in the backyard are not enough because our backyard is so small. And plus it's full of mud right now because of all the rain. Just not fun. Not fun. So I'm changing our direction on this dragon. I really haven't been happy with the stomach scales. And so I've decided to change them entirely, which will require us changing the leather color as well. I'm going to go dark with them. I'm really was unhappy with the thought of making them lighter, but I didn't like their current color because it's too close to the gold. So we're going to go dark, and I'm going to grab my... Y'all don't have this color anymore, but it's the old Ram Black from the Heavy Gear line that we did ages ago. However, if you have coal black, you could use that, or just regular old black. I'm using a black teal because dragon. I'll probably put a little bit of blue liner in this, though, to darken it down. low calorie treats. Yeah, I mean, I cut up her treats really small. Like, we get jerky treats, and then I cut them. So, but it's like, you know, she probably still gets a lot of treats, plus the bully sticks. We got a really crazy, Sunday was a crazy, insane day, Curtico. I looked out the back window here, and the palm trees that I can see were like it's a hurricane. Like, you know, those pictures of like palm trees and hurricanes where all of the fronds are blowing like straight in one direction and they're just like getting whipped around. That was what our Sunday was. With torrential rain like almost all day, which is unheard of for this part of the world, pretty much. So, down in Monterey, which is about an hour and a half south, they had 92-mile-per-hour winds. So, it was pretty, we didn't lose power though, which was crazy. Like, our power goes out at the drop of a hat, but it stayed on. So, the thing about the Ram Black is it is actually a really dark teal. It's not really a black, so I am going to take it and darken it down. You can see that color. So that's a little bit too close. That's why I said I was probably going to add some blue liner to it. Could add that or some regular black, however you want to do it, to take it darker. But yeah, I just decided, much as the contrast, you know, it adds contrast to have that color, and it also gives us a grounding kind of dark brown color. I decided I wasn't a fan. So, there. So, Ram Black and blue liner. Well, like I said, you can use coal black as well. And coal black actually is darker than Ram, so it's probably good to use out of the bottle. But yeah. I dreamt we got another puppy last night. That I finally got my smooth coat. But then I woke up and I was kind of relieved that I didn't. Don't need another puppy right now. So once I put that blue liner in, it goes much darker. See? You know, I hate to say this, but my past experience with husbands and wives who, like, decide to breed their dog and have puppies is that the husband is the first one to cave when the babies get cute And the husband is the one who sits there with a tiny little puppy in his hands going, are we going to keep one? Seriously, this is my experience and my friend's experience as well. It's all like, I'm a dog, blah, 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 until the baby tiny puppy comes that steals their heart. Like, seriously. I am not telling him this in advance. I'm going to wait and see. Because he's been like all, oh my God, you know, when I talk about it. And I'm like, it's coming probably in a year and a half. We're going to have babies as long as Kiki passes her testing. Anna's going to have to take like a lot of time off. We'll see. I might have to take a week off stream because the first week you really want to be there, like right by the whelping box to make sure nobody gets stepped on when you've got a new mom or a clumsy mom. But we'll see. A lot has to happen till then, or a lot happened before then, but we'll see. I'm psyching myself up. Nova just chased her tail. So I'm going to put this dark color on instead, guys. And I'll highlight it. We had a very dark shadow under the jaw anyway. And this may be one of those models where, and this is what can happen. I want to call this out real quick. When you are working with a lot of saturated colors on a model, you can absolutely get to the point where you kind of arrive at there is no good choice because you've got too many strong colors on the model. Like, you absolutely can hit that. Oh, I have no problem letting them go. Yeah, Bob would never let them go. Yeah, uh-huh. This is what I say about those husbands. See, I have no problem letting them go. Like, I made this battle in my inner self a long time ago about miniatures, right? Like, when I had to sell miniatures to live, I learned how to part with my babies. And and the same thing is true with puppies, where, especially because there's so much work. And I was doing most of it. Well, okay, I was doing all of it pretty much with my last, like, situation. I was doing everything. And so by the time 8 weeks came, I was happy to say goodbye to the puppies. I was happy to see them going to their new loving families. I don't have any problem with that. Alrighty. And having 4 dogs once upon a time has totally cured me of the urge to, like, indiscriminately get more dogs. So, we'll see. So I'm going to dark this down. Then we're going to highlight it up a bit, just edge highlighting to see how it looks. We are going to bring in still a dark brown, but I'm going to make it a little lighter than I was going to. I still need a grounding color on this figure. This beige wasn't doing a great job of it, though. Just wasn't the right call. Sorry, Larry Elmore. I love your dragons, but for this particular character, this is not a good call. So bringing this really dark color in will make that red line pop a little more once I highlight it up. It does give us a dark neutral. And it gets rid of that center tan. You only failed at 2. Actually, you want to watch that a little bit, the tail chasing. Because the thing about tail chasing is that it can become a habit. And usually it's just the puppy trying to burn off some extra energy, so it's fine. But I did have a friend whose dog actually, like, it was a sign of, like, it became like a habit thing. And it was not a healthy habit. But yeah, most of the time it's just fine. Puppies especially like to chase it because it's like they suddenly become conscious of the rest of their body and they see that tail thing and the tail thing moves, and so they're like, hey! And it's a great game. Alrighty, so I've gotten rid of that, and I'm going to get it on the back of the tail too, and then we're going to put on some leather and really focus on getting that, like, the more neutrals on this. Oh, you're aware. Cool. Yeah, I wouldn't be concerned either. Not at this age. This age, they're always chasing whatever moves. Plus, it sounds like your little girl gets plenty of, like, outside time and exercise, and usually it's dogs that are not getting enough outlets that tend to go that way, although it's a behavior thing that I haven't had to deal with happily, so. Okay, so I'm just like kind of like covering this up because it was just too many colors in the same. This is why I'm always telling you guys to alternate dark and light. It was too many colors in the same range of value, right? We had that beige wasn't that much lighter than everything else. So instead I'm throwing more darks in. So we've already got that big dark on the back of the shield. Now we're going to have dark on the underbelly. And I'm going to bring in some nice warm brown for the leather in hope that that will help ground the figure a little bit and give it something other than bright colors. Quindy, that's funny. Oh, the contest has been announced, huh? It varies. I mean, I like the round ones, Slayer, so let me see if I can find a Reaper round one. That's not a Reaper one. I've talked about before, like that I use bigger bases for bigger miniatures because when you've got a wide stance, you can't fit them on a smaller base without a lot of work. So this is the 74948 base. Or sorry, 74048. It looks weird on the camera. 74048. Eloquin the Daring, huh? Is it new? I said maybe we'd paint one. On stream. The other one is the round base. The other one I like to use is the round base with a rounded edge that's smaller than this. So, let's see if I can find one of those. Most of my models are all big right now. Oh, this one. There we go. So the Witch is a normal-sized Reaper figure who we did not want to do a lot of extra basing work on because she was smaller. And this is 74023. Those are the two bases I use. I like them for single figures, like just if I want something nice to set off the figure that isn't requiring a lot of extra work. Because some models are smaller and you just, unless you're going to raise them up and make a whole scene out of it, there's no point in giving them a lot of extra stuff all around them. Remaster of Reverter Clock. Nice. Nice. And now I have to go look at it. Hold on. Is it a 3D print or is it a Oh yeah. Yep, he's good. He's a popular model. Remaster, huh? Bones USA. Okay, good. Sweet. 30158. Let me make a note of that. No. Because I was going to put an order for some fresh green stuff anyway. So I can make a mini Reaper order. Yeah. Yeah, I never painted that one in the old days because I think we had a Derek Schubert or a Marika one of it. We had somebody painted a really good, or maybe it was a Lily. I may have been a Liliana Troy actually. But we had a really good copy of it already for the gallery, so I never got to paint that one. It's nice to see remasters because, I mean, a lot of those Werner, especially Werner's elves, his elves and dwarves are very good that he did for Reaper. Very good sculptor. And he really did a great job translating, like, Izzy's work. So I'm glad to see remasters of some of those coming down into the plastic line. That's great. Because they're classics and they're still great. So the fact that we can give them a new life and introduce them to people who maybe weren't in the hobby back then, that's great. Fantastic. I want more of that. Liliana, I was right. All right. Yeah, I was second thinking myself when I said Derek. I was like, no, Liliana. So I'm glad to see that my memory is still like somewhat there. I'm still hoping that Lily comes back around into the hobby as her son gets older. She's always so good. I'm sure she still paints. Sometimes I swear I stay in the hobby just because so many of my female friends who used to paint at the top level have kind of like dropped out or gone elsewhere with their lives. When I went to Gen Con, was it Gen Con? The last time I went to Gen Con, God, what was that? Or was it Gen Con or was it? It was Adepticon actually, I think. Yeah, it would have been Adepticon. But Crocodile Games was there. Chris Fitzpatrick, who used to sculpt for Games Workshop. I knew Fitz from ages ago when I worked at GW. And he was like so thrilled to see me. Like he was absolutely thrilled. That was when I was at Adepticon. That's right. That was when I was at Adepticon and I had entered the Grandmaster and I told him I had and he was just like, I'm so happy that some of us are still going. Tree Stump of Doom does not sound appealing to me, but maybe I'm wrong. Werner's elves are my favorites, hands down. I like his lines. He's a lot cleaner. Got very clean lines on his sculpts. I've always been a Werner fangirl, though. Werner and Bobby. And Julie for her animal people, and also the fire. You sculpt fire so well, Julie. I like the stylized way you sculpt it. But yeah, Julie for her animal people, and animals and beasties and dragons. And I find a lot of similarities between Werner's style and Bobby's 3D style. Just as far as the crisp lines. And they both do a great job of interpreting Izzy's and other artists' visions for the characters. David has favorite sculptors, but I don't think I do other than that. Like as far as like for bigger stuff, David knows all of the sculptors for like busts and stuff. Like he knows all the Europeans. But I don't really. The Europeans and the Koreans and the Russians are some of the biggest. And there's a couple, I think, of great Polish sculptors. But I've been so bad with names for so long. I'm just using my little real dark teal here just to add a little lining, by the way. Just because I can. But yeah, I'm so bad with names that a lot of sculptors on the Europe side of things I'm just kind of oblivious about. Oh, rabbit. Alright, I'll look at it. It's cute. And this is a 3D print. Yeah, I like the mushrooms. The mushrooms are a nice touch. Alrighty, so having blocked in that dark underside, I'm getting a lot less visual clutter. Like, I can see things a lot easier now. So that's good. So now I need to get a good neutral leather here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my medium, my russet brown. I'm going to add a little bit of something to it probably, but I'm going to start with it. I'll highlight it to bring it up and make sure that it's differentiated from the darks, but I need something organic, and I always find that miniatures really come close to like feeling off for me when I don't have my earth colors on there, when I don't have this neutral. I thought that the beige would do it, but the beige was just not doing it for me. So and we will need to put something very light on the model to kind of counter all of these darks. The gold will help because the gold's going to come up to white. The horns will come up to white. And I'll probably will go lighter with the feathers now because I've gone darker with the stomach. But yeah, I really feel like if I don't have some warm dark brown on the model in one way or another, I feel like the model is not balanced. Like it isn't as visually pleasing for me. I really rely on these particular neutrals. You can use black and brown for this, but that is much darker. The russet is the lightest of the warm dark browns. And so that's why I'm using it. I want it to come up to a mid. I want this gold to come up a lot. So that's where we're kind of blocking out our lights and darks here. Her eyes do look good. And now that that belly is gone, her face is standing out more. See what I'm doing? So today I shot my first concepts, fundamentals and practice video, yesterday. Finished shooting it. I haven't stitched it together, so I don't know if it's going to be good or if I'm going to have to reshoot it. There will be a $2 PDF on this one. It's pretty much the Fast Faces one, like how I would do if I do an army again, like if I decide to pick up a Wood Elf army, this will be how I kind of do my faces. It's that kind of thing. Let's see, what do I want? I need my... there. And this is just using the fundamentals. So this is using base coats, washing, lining, and just a tiny bit of layering. And it's the easiest way to do eyes. And we're not doing full eyes on this. This is just like, if you're scared to do eyes and doing the whole like, like painting it dark, putting the white in, putting the pupil and iris in, if that's all scary, then this is the easiest way to just get something that actually like works without having to do all that work. And it's very, very like easy and intuitive and should be obvious, but sometimes you don't do it because you don't think it's going to look good. So I just went ahead and did a model to show you guys that you could get away with it on mooks. You could even get away with it on characters, but I'm not as happy with it as on characters, obviously, because for me, characters are an opportunity to do a really nice model for an army. Oh yeah, Julie, it's always a collaboration. Like, that's the great thing about mini painting, is that it's always a collaboration and iteration between the sculptor and the painter. Like, and every time we paint something from one of you guys, it, helps us, arguably. It either helps us improve or it just helps us to enjoy our hobby, right? It helps us in other ways, like stress relief. Like, it absolutely makes a difference. Over the years, I can't even imagine how many tens of thousands of people your work has influenced in a positive way. All right, I'm going to grab my Reaper. I need to wash this brush. When you get to the point where you see that darkening at the root of the brush, this is my Reaper Zero. I've been using it a lot just for random stuff like washes and messy base coats and things. So that tends to get gunk into the brush. So maybe we'll clean this today too. All right, so let's get this actually blocked in. Let's get some of this crap, this gray, gone so that we can really get a sense of the model. Because as long as we've got these light grays, we really don't get a sense of the model. And there comes a point when I'm filling things in where I just need all that gray to disappear, and it is that time. Yeah, Moonlight. So I'm painting Ms. Barbarian for the painting competition for ReaperCon because I want one of your trophies. But I also think I'm going to refine and finish Bunny. And I'm planning on an interesting base for Bunny. Since Bunny was... since the colors in Bunny were influenced by my recent trip to Hawaii back in the fall, I think I'm going to do a cool base for her, a cool tropical base. Very Hawaii feely base. It'll help me deal with my Hawaii separation anxiety that I'm having right now. I already warned David. I'm like, if I ever get to be a best-selling author, I'm buying a house in Hawaii. I don't care if it's a shack on a beach somewhere. I don't care. I want a house in Hawaii. Of course, then the problem is I have to talk David into going Hawaii a lot. Let's just take this month. We'll see if I can manage that by the time I retire, right? Because then once you're retired, it's all like gravy. Then David can't argue if I say I want to go to Hawaii for a month. This one. Because her, my whole thing with her whole color scheme and her freehand was inspired by my trip to Hawaii in October. Oh, both of you live there, huh? Interesting. Still wants to go back. Well, I've never lived there, and I don't think I would ever live there full time. But I would love, love, love to have a house there that I could just go, like, when I really feel like, especially in winter. Like, I have no problem, like, not having winter. Like, I like a little bit of shift of the seasons. I like it to get cooler, right? But then when it hits the dreary cold, like the dreary cold where I feel like I'm slogging and my seasonal depressive just kicks in, then I want the freedom to go to Hawaii for 2 or 3 weeks. That's what I want. I don't know. Maybe I should just like make enough money that I can always just like go and do a rental. No idea. Or maybe I should buy a house and rent it out the rest of the year. Though I've never really wanted to be a landlord. I don't know. This is all like hypothetical. We're much more likely, unfortunately, to get if we ever got a second house, it would probably be in Tahoe. Because then David can ski. I wouldn't mind that either, though. Tahoe is gorgeous in the summer, and I would totally drive up in the mountains with Kiki and get some work done for a week. Just quiet. Take walks in the woods. So just reinforcing my gold here, my gold base. I think you like being swamped. I know I like being swamped. Like, I am happy. I'm pretty happy when I'm active and doing things. As long as it doesn't get into total overwhelm mode. Like, I always have to I tend to get myself into that and then have to take a step back and give up some stuff. But recently I have been giving up stuff. I feel a little better for it. So just getting her little earring there. Yeah, swamped is way better than bored for sure. Hey, Moonlight, I got a question for you. So your stuff like the Wood Elf pack and the Genasi pack and stuff, that's all part of your tribes thing, right? Is it how often like is it every month your tribes thing changes? Like, do you do a new set every month? Do you do a new set every couple months? Like, how does that work? I've been considering. Because I really like your sculpts, and I'm like, maybe I should just tribes. Give me an excuse to have even more 3D print STLs. New set every month, wow. So when you're tribes, do you automatically get that new set every month? You can tell I'm a newbie at all this. Walrus people. Cool. Yeah, we did Agent Marvel. We were just Quindy linked the new model a while ago, and I'm glad to see it's a Werner reboot. That's it every month, and now you're doing an adventure. That's cool. I don't have a group. I'm sad. Maybe I should get an online group. I think about that from time to time. Since this is what the pandemic did for us, right? There's like ways to D&D without being in person. Because sometimes I really miss having a game. Just going to go and do some lining here since I have this dark teal. It makes a great liner. Alright, thanks for answering my questions, Moonlight. I wonder if anybody has ever done, like, dog people with different dog breed heads, like the dogs playing poker. I know the that Dark Sword has done plenty of anthropomorphic critters, but I think that's the closest thing I've seen. Yeah, I mean, we have one of our dogs got immortalized on Dark Sword. Leo did. Actually, he got immortalized twice. But yeah. I actually have that superpower too, Kerniko. Since I went low carb. I used to, like, when I would walk out as a kid, like, every mosquito in the world would converge upon me and devour me. But when I went low carb, suddenly I was immune. Like, they didn't ever bite me. When we were in Washington with David's folks, and we went for a hike just outside of Mount Rainier before we went into the park. There were places in the shadows, in the shade of like rocks and trees, where there were a bunch of bugs because it was summer, but there was still some snow melt and stuff, so there was still water. And the mosquitoes were just horrendous, like clouds of them in those areas. But Kiki kept wanting to go into the snow. And David would step in, and then he'd just be like, no way. And like David's parents were like, oh my God, the mosquitoes. And I was just standing there, and I didn't get a single bite. So I think diet does have to do something. It does have something to do with that. I don't know. Like, that's the only way I can like really explain it. Because really, when I was younger, they all wanted to eat me. Yeah, so, like, maybe your diet has some influence on some of that. Yeah. Higher blood sugar and body temperature? That's interesting, Shadow Raven. That would explain it, because my blood sugar isn't, like, obviously isn't that high, so that's why I went low carb in the first place. Part of it. Well, that explains it. Excellent. Excellent. Thanks, Shadow. Yeah, because even now, when I'm definitely low carb and not keto, I still don't have any problems with bug bites. With biting critters. Alright, so let's see. We can do some leather there, leather. Okay. So is it just the 90-day challenge, just paint that model however you want? Let's go see. 90-day challenge number 1. Choose a file, enter. Open date, close date, the 5th of... Hey, Cinco de Mayo is the close date. And you can celebrate by, like, you know, having a Mexican beer after you finish. Yeah, and you can get your picture on the product page, your model picture. That's great. Oh, and the judges are going to give feedback to the top 10. That's really nice, guys. Yeah. Neat. Ah, okay. Refrain from watermarks. Yep. Yep. Yeah, this looks good. This looks cool. Yeah, don't post your work in progress. Yep. That's cool. Pictures with the most likes win. Panel of judges that will also offer feedback. Yes. Yeah, that sounds fun. Y'all should do it. Like, it just sounds like it's fun. Like, it's not like super judgy, but you still get feedback, and feedback's always good. Yeah, it makes sense that first place wouldn't pick the next model. Like, much as that's a cool reward, it sometimes can make trouble. Because, you know, there are people who would just pick a very fringe model that a lot of people aren't interested in painting. And if Reaper, like, the cool thing about this competition for Reaper is if they're getting a lot of engagement, right, this helps them to show off some of the new things, like if they're doing a bunch of Werner remasters or, you know, like stuff like that. This helps them promote that, right? So that's the good thing about Reaper being the one to choose it. And also, if they want to, like, promote something like this model, this new one, you know, like, obviously, in the past, nobody would have known that model existed, so nobody would have picked it for the next competition. So I just think that's smart. And it looks like the judges don't actually affect the vote, but are there to give feedback. Yeah, yeah. Could. I don't know. I remember when we used to do when we used to give a prize of the Design Your Own Mini. You guys remember that thing? When we did like something like a dragon naming contest or whatever. And it was always like really hard to, I remember it like was hard to get people to respond and to actually, like, you know, work along with Reaper on that. And there's just a lot of different things. Like, it's much, as a company, I just think it's more ideal to not mess around with that stuff. If you have the time, it makes sense, but Reaper's got its hands in so many pies and has so many projects that are usually ongoing. We're already always scrambling. At least when I worked there. Maybe it's changed. But in the past, it was really hard to keep up with everything as it was. So adding extra stuff could be more difficult. Yeah, it depends, right? That's the problem when you get to be a bigger company, is that you don't have as much time for personal interaction like that. And it's just so much easier for you to just, like, say, okay, Ron, pick the next model. But it's nice that Reaper does this, like, and it's great that they're going to have, like, judge feedback. Like, that's one of the things I always think is the best about ReaperCon, is the ability to get so much feedback from good painters, not just even the judges, but just our staff, you know, staff painters and painters who are teaching, and even the people who are just sitting at the table with you, right, who might be as good or better than you. Quindy. Oh, paint. Yeah. Oh, yeah, stock issues too. Yeah, that would be a problem. Yeah, moth green. Must have moth green, everybody. I'm just afraid that, like, because Dungeon Slime is so, like, popular, that I'm afraid that moth green is losing out because Dungeon Slime, which is actually not, like, doesn't make too much sense because moth green is more saturated. So if you want to have more control, you would start with moth and add exactly the amount of white you want. They're very similar. Yeah. Struggled with having a quarterly ending right around Christmas. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Alrighty. So we've got some of that brown in there. I like it better than the lighter brown. Once I highlight it, we'll be able to see it better. Also, I can shade this near black to even make it go down a little bit more. Yeah, yeah, I know. I still have my Death Knight Black. So I'm going to add in this warm brown as many places as I can. It makes sense. Got to go turn it so I can get the back of that strap. It's true, Richard. It's true. Some people are really that limited as far as using a paint because it's labeled the thing they want to paint. I don't know if it's the majority of people. I know people are literal like that, like the majority, I would say a majority, and maybe not a big majority, but of players are like that when choosing a character. Like they're not willing to take something that's labeled a rogue and make it into a ranger, even if it fits their character, because its name says that it's a rogue, and they think it's, and that just, they can't do that. So sometimes I know with actual like models that is a factor. So fighter with bow syndrome. Yep. Yeah, what those greens are for, Agent Marvel, is quick highlighting of medium greens. So mix those into your medium green. If you mix a lighter yellow green into your medium green, you will always have a correct highlight. Like it's always going to make a good highlight for you. And moth can also serve as a basis for a very greenish yellow. And moth is also good for glow effects because it is so saturated and it's a yellow green. So if you're doing something like the necromantic magic or like warp fire, like Skaven warp fire, any of those hellish green hellfire effects, like moth green is fantastic. And maybe I should have called it like, demon fire green or something. I bet it would sell better. Yeah, I mean, a lot of us don't really suffer from that whole thing. Like, we just grab a color and use it for whatever we feel like it'll be good for, right? All right. The question is some of these straps. They've got... I can make them a color, or I can make them leather. I think I'm going to put a leather wrap on this. Starting to feel better about the amount of brown here, and I guess I'll do the wrap on the handle here. Instead of going colored here, sometimes the answer really is to just go neutral. So if there were fewer bright colors on this model elsewhere, I might have done like a striped colored leather handle on this hammer. But I've already got so much color on this model, and I know that the hammer itself is going to be lava rock, so I'm going to go brown on this. And that's feeling a little better. Nope, I decided I was getting rid of the belly scales being lighter. I didn't like it, Richard. It wasn't working for me, so I decided I was going near black instead. Everything was reading as the same value. and it was really irritating to me. It was way too close to the gold. So I decided to nix it, which is absolutely something that happens. It's something that happens regularly with other painters, and less usual with me, but every once in a while I will make a call and then it just won't turn out the way I want it to, and I'll just change it. Like, this is always what I tell you guys about the power of acrylics. You can change anything on the model. You can paint over acrylics. Even if you suddenly decide that you want something that's black to be yellow, all you have to do is paint white first, and you can paint the yellow down on top of what used to be black. So, never be afraid to change your mind. If something isn't looking like, if your gut says that this doesn't look that great, I don't think this is quite right, change it. And it's best to change it in like the base coat or the base coat plus a highlight phase. But I mean, I had done like shading and highlighting on that, and I still decided to nix it. Like, don't cling to an idea that's not working just because you put time into it. Hey CJ, it is the Dragonfolk Paladin. It's a 3D print, I believe. It's done by Christine Van Patten, also Moonlight Minis. She's in the chat. But yeah, it's a nice little model. I like it a lot. I was just changing up some things on it. I still haven't filled in all of the colors, but I'm getting there. Yeah, no problem. It's a nice model. It was the free monthly mini on Reaper last month, I think. But yeah, it's a cool mini. I think I want to do... okay, so I'm going to use this black teal to block in what's going to be lava rock. We'll make veins of magical magma running through it. But I'll get that dark blocked in first. I was tempted to start painting a dragon last night. I resisted. I resisted because I like wanted to get something else done instead, but I don't know. The last thing I need is to start yet another new model and then feel overwhelmed. So I need to keep my improgs to a manageable level. That's why it's good that we're almost that we're getting closer to done with this lady. Because once I have her done, I can start something new. Oh, as a result of your ReaperCon class, redesign a mini for Reaper. That's cool, Moonlight. I didn't know that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I always like to see good Dragonborn out there. I feel like, I don't know, for me it's been a popular race. I've played Dragonborn Paladin and really enjoyed it. If only I would have had this model when I was actually playing her. Although I think, I can't remember if she had, I may have had a hammer. I might have had to swap it for a greatsword, but you know. Don't remember what weapon I had on her. It may have been a two-handed mace, something similar. It's been a while. Alright, so now I have to make some decisions. I need to decide, I think I am going to make that brown in there. That'll be leather cuff. And I may then go red with this little band up here, or I'll go brown and make that little gem on it. Because we've got a couple things here which are bands, but then have gems on them. Yeah, Dragonborn Paladin. So we're just blocking in to get the rest of this gray off of here. But actually I'm going to stop for a second because if I'm going to introduce a lighter color on these feathers, then I need to consider doing that now. And if I'm going to introduce that here, then I have to question if I'm going to put it somewhere else. Although if I do put in a lighter color on these feathers, chances are I'm going to be using that same cream color to highlight these horns. So I should have enough repetition. I don't know that I need to repeat it down below. Yeah, because I've got claws too. I had to just stop and ask, because if you look at, you've kind of got a natural pattern here, which would be good for an accent color. You've got all these little bits. Part of this is going to be gold on that handle, or the crossguard on the dagger. But there is a lot of opportunity here for repeated colors and an accent color. So the reason I wouldn't go for an accent color on this is that I'm already going to have 3 really strong saturated colors. So I've got my red and orange, and that's going to be doubled down on when we put the lava veins in here, right? So the reddish, the orangey red is already everywhere, being a very, very strong main color. And then we've got the turquoise, right, which is the main color of the dragon scales. We still have to put a lot of that in back here. But those are our main colors, right? We're doing the David color scheme. We're doing red and turquoise. But then all of this, that's kind of the yellowy color, that's all going to be gold. So it's going to be brought up toward yellow. And we're going to have those 3, and there's a lot of it, right? There's a lot of gold. So 3 really strong colors on this model. If we look at the color wheel, we could maybe discern if there's room for an accent and what it would have to be. So what we need to do then is take our color wheel and turn it to the other side, because we need our little geometrics here. And we need to put 1 of our geometrics onto the teal. Let's see. So that's blue-green. So if we look, we've actually got a potential accent. If you look at all of these, you have to look at each shape, and keep in mind that gold is either a yellow or a yellow-orange, depending on how you want to pop it. So if we've got blue-green and we've got this, we can see that a tetrad color can either go to yellow or yellow-orange and still be in harmony with blue-green. If we follow these down, they both hit red-orange right down here. So right away, by having blue-green and red-orange, we've actually got complements. And then this is, both of these, the yellow and yellow-orange, are both triadic or tetradic colors. So then if we pop these over then to the other end of the thingy, we see that we could actually do either a purple or an indigo as a accent color if we wanted to. Now this, though, gives me a little bit of an interesting idea. Because these are the darkest colors, blue, violet, and violet, purple, indigo, and blue, are the darkest colors on the color wheel. They're naturally darker. So what we could do if we wanted to try that and introduce it is we could use these colors, instead of making a separate accent, we could use them to highlight these dark belly scales. Yes, it is just a color wheel. This one I got from Scale 75 Kickstarter, but you can also order them. This is a mini color wheel, I think. And you can just get them, that color wheel company makes them, and you should be able to get them for like $3 on Amazon. Like, it's super cheap, $2 or $3. Unless they've gone up. Yeah. So we can see that we do have room for another color. I would probably do, looking at this, I'd say the gold is more yellow-orange. Although, it may make more sense to take the gold more yellow than yellow-orange, because we're getting a little closer to the red-orange here. But, so maybe an indigo. An indigo on the purpley side of indigo. I'll have to think about that, because that's, so now we've actually, there is a natural tetrad in play here. So we know that, so now we can think about it. I don't think I really want to put like a indigo as my light color, though. That's the thing, is like this up here, I really want it to be a lighter color. So I think, although what I could do is I can go cream with these feathers, but then I could put little details in indigo to repeat the color, go there. Maybe we can try that. That's possibility. Oh yeah, that's true. Michael's or Hobby Lobby, art and craft stores almost always have color wheels. They might not have the mini one, or they might. You could check them if you've got a local one. It's a good point, Shadow Raven. Thanks. But yeah, I don't think I would put an indigo here though, so I think I am gonna go, because the indigo up against the turquoise scales would just be the same value again. This is the thing, we got a lot of dark colors on this model already. Even though I'm planning to bring up many of these areas with highlights, we have an awful lot of similar dark, especially because I started with a really dark teal for this, for the turquoise right there. You can see the base color. So this model is already struggling to come up from dark. So I'll have to be careful as I'm highlighting and shading to differentiate these areas so that everything doesn't run together, and so you can see all of the different features of the model. I think I'm going to go brown on the main band of leather here, but I might do red on the other part. So just trying to get enough neutrals in here so that everything isn't a bright garish color, so that the model feels more grounded to me. Otherwise you get into the clown colors realm really fast, where just everything looks garish and it's just not a good color scheme. So putting in that really near black and then putting in the browns has helped. I like it a lot better. And I still have to decide. I'm going to go do this in brown. I may wait on this till I see how everything else works out. Because if I do decide to go with the indigo, this is far enough away from the feathers, and it's also separated from the belly scales if I decide to kind of like highlight those with a little bit of an indigo color. This is far enough away that I could put the indigo here as a spot color and make it work. But we will have to see. So just a reminder, I will not be on tomorrow or the next day. I have doctor medical appointment stuff to take care of. I will be back on Friday. All right, so we're getting there. I need to get these straps done. But yeah, I don't often do 4-color schemes. Like, I really feel like the sweet spot for miniatures, at least for little miniatures, is 2 strong colors plus an accent. That's really where I feel 28mm or 32mm, whatever. That's where I feel like it lives. For larger models, you've got more room to spread things out. So I can see going with a tetrad more. I feel like on 28mm, you usually, I mean, maybe with the most complex ones, you have enough room to have enough different colored things to make 4 colors work, but it's generally not easy on these smaller models, and sometimes it just doesn't work very well. Because everything is very compressed because of the scale. So for me, that's why I tend to like start with ideas for like 1 to 2 strong colors, usually 2, and then I'll have an accent. I like triadic schemes generally a little better than quadratic schemes. And if I do a quadrad like we're considering on this model, I'll keep it understated. Yeah, too many colors can make it look busy very, very quickly on 28mm. Agreed. And some models, like Vamp by Barbarian, that we're doing the basing on, we do have a lot of different colors on him. Like, we've got 4. We've got the turquoise, the red, orange, the yellow, and the purple, right? So actually, this is a quadratic, just like we're considering with this model, except this model is more muted, and this one is super, super intense. Also, we've moved the colors as far as what's main. Both of them have a red-orange as a main color, but the teal on the Vampire Barbarian is very, very minimalized, whereas the teal is a main color here. The Vamp doesn't have a lot of gold, but the Dragon is going to have a lot more. So, thanks. So you can see these are actually the same color scheme. It's just you're modifying what exactly you're doing as far as what's the main color, right? So the Vamp also works a little bit, looks more naturalistic because we've got a lot of brown, black, and then his skin tone is much more neutral, right? Because we were going much more vampire looks, so we muted him out and grayed out his skin tone a lot. And we've got that bone too, right? Which I'm actually about to put on this lady as well, just up on those feathers. So we have a lot more neutrals on this guy, whereas her, because of her scales and making those a strong color, she has a lot less neutrals. She's going to look a lot less naturalistic. She's going to be much more cartoon, like comic book, more like fantasy, more high fantasy feeling than this guy. This guy's more gritty. So keep that in mind too when you're choosing saturated versus more neutral colors and muted colors. If you want something that's grittier, then consider muting things instead of going super saturated like I did on this model. Does that make sense to you guys? Yeah, I just realized those are the same color scheme, just very different treatments. I should do a little thing on that for the Patreon, actually. Just take a picture of those two when Dragon gets close to done. Take a picture of those two next to each other, point out it's the same color scheme. Like, it's possible to, like, iterate infinitely on a particular color scheme, pretty much. Just varying which color is dominant, varying whether it's light or dark, varying whether you're going saturated or desaturated, and how much. I mean, David does this endlessly, my husband, because he's always working with like red and teal. But sometimes you don't even realize it because sometimes the teal is so very washed out that you just don't see it unless you look for it. So yeah, I mean, it is a zenith. That one is a zenith though, Big Chimpo. So it does have black primer under some of the shadows. But yeah, I don't do a lot of super saturated stuff anymore, like this model. That's probably why part of my brain is grumping at me. I do like more naturalistic stuff. I really do. Like my personal preferences. But sometimes the model demands a different tactic, or it just like that's the way my brain wants to run it when I look at a given model. I could do a darker, grittier version of this dragon. Much more natural looking version if I swap some stuff around. So I'm going to just put some gold in there. Just these little, there's little details on her, a little scabbard here for her dagger. Just putting a little bit of gold in there. It wouldn't be like a huge thing, like I'd just do a small PDF about it as far as putting those two models next to each other. Maybe I'll make it the $2 PDF at some point. And I am going to be talking about color schemes pretty quick coming up on the YouTube with Concepts of Mini Painting series. I think toward the end of this month there might be the first of the color theory things. It's going to be split up into several small lessons, and it's going to cover all sorts of different thoughts about color. So I'm going to try to make it the simplest I possibly can because YouTube, and I feel like there needs to be something about this on the tubes that actually breaks it down into ultra small steps so that you can learn this stuff without feeling overwhelmed. I am going to go neutral with the horns and the feathers. The feathers will go mostly cream color. The horns are going to come up to cream and white. This is just a base color. I just didn't change these like I changed those because I still want that cream neutral. I want more neutrals, but I'm shrinking. I'm changing the type of neutral we're getting. So the horns are not going to... No, we're not going red up here. That would just... Putting any red up here at all, Turgeon, it immediately rips attention away from the eyes, which I do not want. I'm already taking a chance not making these dark, and I may end up turning them dark if they don't work. Or more likely, I'll end up darkening down a lot of it, but I'll still bring it up to cream, but maybe in a soft pattern so that the eyes still show up. But you can't, like, at this point, I'm going to darken down this red a lot too, because I want the attention up here. And that's the hard thing about small eyes, is just that it's so hard to hold the attention up here. But you just gotta work with it, right? So the reds are going to come down quite a bit on this model. This is all base coat, except for like kind of my proof of concept down here. So right now we're going to be developing a lot from this. We're still going to keep pretty saturated highlights, obviously, but we are going to be like darkening down some things and controlling the amount of attention that different parts of this model. Yeah, you could, yes. And actually there are little horns. I can see the little horn here working into this and this. So that would essentially give you what you say, Moonlight. You can just like create kind of a, it starts here and then the highlight goes out here. And so that would pull the eye hopefully forward. It would be an experiment and you'd have to like try it and see. But yeah, we do have these little horns above her brow that we could repurpose as, you know, making this whole thing part of something that leads you back to the eye. Absolutely. All the way to black on the tips. That makes sense. Yeah, because then you don't want all the attention back here, right? And that's also a natural horn color, is to darken the backs of them. Alrighty, where am I? I was going to do a little bit of lining. I still want to get those feathers blocked in. I don't have anything right now to color in these little gems on the armbands because I didn't mix up my red. So I'll hold off for a little bit. Yeah, there's definitely any mini though. Like, but this one because you got the dragon, the scales, you do have a lot of different options. as opposed to skin tones, which normally limit you a little. Oh no, I missed some red there on the upper part of her thigh. See it? There's that gray. So I need to remember to bring that in. Maybe I will be mixing up some red today after all then. We're almost to the end of the stream though. I want to block in this cream color. And I want to line around, separate out these feathers from the surrounds. I like to line just to neaten things up as I'm figuring out my composition. All right. She's getting there, Kodiak. We have a long way to go on this one. This one is, it might feel as we base coat, it might feel like she's getting closer, but in reality we have so much to do. We haven't done any of the teal highlighting on any of these scales, on the hip, on the arms. We haven't touched the back as far as the teal goes. There's so much NMM to do. I might throw some leather, actually one of these, this plate, I might throw some leather on it instead of making all those plates gold. Hey, Roger. So I think I'm going to do that. Bring in more of my leather, because it would probably be the lowest layer would probably be leather, because it'd be guarding, protecting her arm. But yeah, we have so much work on this. Lots of work. And that's before we even put the little lava veins into our lava rock down here for our magical hammer. But yeah, it'll be fun to see how she develops as everything gets added in. And I'm glad it's going to take a long time to paint her, because I feel like I've been getting toward the end on a lot of models lately, and I like to have projects at various stages for this stream, so that we're not always just starting a model, or just not starting a bunch of models at once, because we finished a bunch at once. So yeah, just a little bit of lining, kind of clean things up a little bit. Remember to take a lot of paint off your brush when you're lining, so you can get the sharpest tip possible for when you're doing little details. Alrighty. Okay. I do want... I did want to get my red out just so I could block in a couple things that I missed. So I'm going to grab my blood red, because that's the red we're using. Kind of a mid it's a fairly saturated red, but it's not as bright as it's looking on camera. did determine that I missed part of that line right there going up the side of her legs, so I'm going to grab that. Yeah, bye Kodiak. There we go. Got that taken care of. Want to get we've almost got her all covered up. Almost. We're almost there to the point where then everything is the fun part. All right. I'm just blocking in everything. And then we just have those feathers and that scabbard. There are many times that I miss stained ivory as a color. All I've got is creamy, but we can mix creamy with a little bit of rich leather or driftwood brown to get a darker cream color. That's a better kind of base for an ivory. I want to wrap this shortly, but if you want an ivory, ivory tends to be very yellow, and so using this rich leather as a darkener for our creamy ivory works very well for this. There it goes. It gets us very close to the stained ivory if we keep adding in. I'm going to throw a little bit of water around this. Just pretty much made a circle around it. It's going to keep it from drying on my palette so I can clean up my palette easier. You can also put a little bit of russet brown into that cream color if you feel like it's too yellow and you want it to go a little bit more brown. Which is what I just did because I want to be able to have room to highlight. So that makes it go to there. Oh lordy, all right. Let's see if I can actually stick to my schedule today. It took a long time to set up that video yesterday. I ended up using up all my writing time in addition to all my filming time. That's still really pale compared to the rest of the model, so that's good. Probably I should do some of the NMM next to get an idea of how bright or dark I want it. So we'll start with these light, very light. And let's actually put in a little bit. Let's use Moonlight's idea and do just a little bit. Of the cream here headed toward the eye. picking that up. So yeah, on a less colorful model, I would use these feathers as color accents for sure. But it's because we've got so much color on the model as it is, I don't want to quite go there. And this will get painted over, but I want to try it out, so. So we'll see. We'll be bringing up parts of the horns to that point too. So, and there's more horns back here. We'll just have to see how it goes. All right, I'm okay with that for now. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to hold off painting on that little scabbard until I figure it out. I might make it dark and paint it, highlight it with indigo. I don't think I'm going to go light with it, but we'll see. So we've got things blocked in now. And we'll just have to see how we develop them. That little touches of cream up on the horns are just like a starter. We'll have to figure out what we're really doing up there. What we can do without, to draw attention up here, but without totally overwhelming everything. So that is where we are. Oh, I did forget one thing. I forgot to color in this part. We could go, I think I'm going to go black. Could go cream, but the other thing that I could do with these areas instead, and I may end up doing that, is to paint all of these, the areas that are red right now, paint them all black and do the lava cracks on them. I haven't decided yet if I want to do that. I kind of like the geometricness of the shield as it stands now. So I'm not sure I want to do all that, but we'll see. All right, folks. So again, I'll be gone tomorrow. I'll be gone the next day. We will be back on Friday. On Friday, we'll be working on Karindra. If you recall, we were starting on highlighting the stonework. We last time we got all the griffin based, and we were starting to bring up areas on the stone. We were also bringing down a lot of details with that indigo shadow that I put on there. So we will continue with this, getting this stone to where we want it to be. And also I need to prime the little brazier that goes up on the griffin's head so that we can get that in place and start painting that as well. So yay! Thanks everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thank you, Quindy, for rocking the show as always. Thanks for all the info on the quarterly competition. Moonlight and Bob and Julie, thank you for hanging out as sculptors in the chat. As always, your input is super valuable. And yeah, I hope you all have a great day. And I will be back on Friday. Yeah, hopefully with good news. All right. Thanks, y'all. See you later. Bye-bye.